Welcome to our series of interviews with candidates for the governor of Utah. I'm Mike Mendenhall, president of the Utah League of Cities and Towns. We've prepared our questions based on a survey of our league board of directors. These mayors and council members have prioritized issues important to the residents in the areas they represent. We are happy to welcome in today Jeff Burningham to the League of Cities and Towns studio today. Welcome to the basement, Jeff.
Is this you, Mike, or is it Doug Wright here? I don't know. Glenn Mills, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
I'm an entrepreneur. Economic development is not theoretical to me. It is what I have devoted my life and career to. While I've been doing that, I've been politically active. I've been a precinct chair, a state and county delegate, and I've helped raise a lot of money for Republican candidates, but I have never run for political office. The season of management of passing, the season of leadership here in Utah is upon us. And what became apparent to me a year or two ago is that the playbook that we've been using in Utah the last decade or more is not the playbook that will keep us on top any longer. The commute from Spanish Fork to Salt Lake went from 50 minutes to an hour 15, whatever. We see it in our air. We feel it in affordability. And so that's why this election for Utah's next governor, in my opinion, it's not about yesterday's ideas, and we can go there if we want. It's not about today's status quo. It is all about tomorrow's opportunity here in Utah. And I think we need a fresh perspective, a politically unentangled leader to be our next governor. Cities and towns across the Wasatch Front especially, but across the state of Utah, are dealing with some of the challenges that maybe come from growth in their cities, in the state as a whole. What would a Burningham administration do to work with local leaders to solve some of those transportation issues that growth causes in our communities? Yeah, it is not a smart plan, in my opinion, to keep tax incentivizing growth to the Wasatch Front. We've done that a lot in the last decade or more, and that is not a smart plan. It's not a smart plan because there aren't 1,000 government programs that could create the diverse economy that the entrepreneurs have created. The people of the state have created the most diverse and exciting economy in the country. When we tax incentivize growth on top of that, it exacerbates all our problems, like transportation. So number one, let's quit tax incentivizing growth. We're growing. We're the youngest state. We like to have big families. We have children and grandchildren that now can stay here even more than they could previously because our economy has been diversified by the entrepreneurs. So let's quit tax incentivizing growth because it exacerbates problems like that. I often joke to my wife, like, how many lanes can we add to I-15 in Utah County before we're in Utah Lake? Right. You know, that's not a smart plan for growth. So transportation is a critical need for our state. We need to make sure that the west side of Salt Lake, the west side of I-15, is not being left out in terms of transportation. We need a smart plan. It's not a smart plan to continually just incrementally add lanes to I-15. We should be quick to embrace technology, in my opinion. I think there are a lot of opportunities. We need a comprehensive plan for transportation from where we are and where we're going. And then we need a leader courageous enough to step up, even when it's unpopular, and say, this is what we need to do if we want to protect our quality of life. What would a Burningham administration do to maybe help the air quality along the Wasatch Front? Yeah, number one, I don't think you can regulate your way to air quality. The answer is not overregulation, in my opinion. The answer, in my opinion, and will often be my answer as a non-career politician, it's empowering people. It's empowering entrepreneurs to innovate in air quality. So I think that the best answers in air quality will come from the people, will come from innovation. So let's empower and encourage innovators and entrepreneurs in our state to look for solutions to the air quality problems that we're facing, number one. Number two, obviously one thing that government can do is kind of encourage good behavior. We have the HOV lane, on I-15, which I think is good. We have more Tier 3 gasoline than we've ever had before, which is great. My question is, do you and I, do our wives know where to buy it? Do people know where they sell Tier 3 gasoline? So we own an electric car. We're trying to do our part, our family does. We try to use that as much as we can. There are things that we can do. Technology will help us in a lot of ways, but until we are there, we need to empower entrepreneurs to innovate with solutions, and we need to encourage good constituent behavior through Tier 3 gasoline, HOV lanes. What about this? Why not challenge the companies of the state to have a work-at-home day? Every company, choose a day at home where your employees can, especially in technology, where they can work from home.
Our residents are also concerned about housing affordability. You've heard this a lot at the state level. What are some steps that you would take as governor to work with local leaders on housing affordability in the communities where it makes sense, while respecting the keys that they hold, knowing that they don't hold some keys? You've been in real estate before, and it's hard for a local elected official to stop the market, if you will, on what people are selling ground for, and et cetera. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy there.
Yeah, this is a huge issue. And I became really aware of this issue. So after my real estate firm developed and grew, we had the opposite problem of not enough cash flow. We had excess cash flow. So my partners and I got together and said, what should we do with it? And I knew exactly what we should do with it. I said, there is an oversupply of good entrepreneurs in this state and an undersupply of good capital. Let's reach back and invest equity. Let's invest our dollars into these local startups. So our firm was the first investor in most of the startups along Silicon Slopes or at the point of the mountain. The point of this is to say, what's interesting is several of these entrepreneurs, these were mainly young entrepreneurs, a lot of them right out of college or even some in college, et cetera. They would come to me and say, Jeff, like, I can't find a place to live. Like, this is a couple of years ago, like, there's no affordable place for me to live. I can't even afford to start my business out of my garage. I don't have a garage. Like, I can't afford a garage. So this is an issue in our state. And if we want our children and grandchildren to be close to us here, affordability is a big issue. Obviously, the supply and demand curve has gotten out of whack. Again, we've exacerbated our own issues by tax incentivizing additional people here. Why would we do that? That looks good for politicians to be able to take a picture with Facebook or whatever. Hey, look who I brought to the state. But that's not good for us as people. It's good when you want to tick off, we're number one at this, number one at this. But what about our quality of life? Affordability goes right to the heart of our quality of life. And let's not pass down one-size-fits-all mandates. We don't like those from the federal government, and there's no reason that a city or town would like that from the state government. It does not make sense.
Speak to what a Burningham administration would mean to rural Utah.
I've been surprised that you can go not too far from here, a couple hours away from here, and they're experiencing a completely different economy than we are here along the Wasatch Front. And I'll tell you this, I'm not okay with the status quo. I haven't accepted that this is just how it is in rural Utah. And I think that's the value of a fresh perspective for rural Utah. I'm incensed when I hear about some of the travesties, some of the challenges that rural Utah is facing. My feeling is that we need to take a breath here along the Wasatch Front. We need to catch our breath. We need to get ahead of our infrastructure needs. And while we're doing that, let's focus and push the economic opportunity as far and wide into rural Utah as we possibly can. We can do that. I, as a business person, as someone who's created thousands of jobs, have a much better chance leading an initiative like that as a governor than someone who's grown up in government. There are things that we can do to create economic diversification in rural Utah. My opinion is we're all one Utah. Urban, rural Utah, we're all one Utah. We depend on each other, we rely on each other. Rural Utah needs a fighter in their corner. That's what I've gathered as I've traveled around the state, and I fully intend to be that fighter.
Local cities and towns, municipalities deal with obviously the taxing authority within their jurisdiction. They go to the grocery store with their friends and neighbors that talk about, hey, my property taxes, or hey, my sales tax, right? That helps to fund the critical needs of that community. State level has its own general fund, its own general budget that it deals with, and we've seen some attempts to change tax policy in a way that is more service-oriented rather than goods-oriented. What would a Burningham administration, what's the approach you would take on tax policy as a state while continuing to respect the role of local governments and their ability to collect tax?
I've been a leader against the tax reform for a year now, because a year ago, like you said, it was taxing services. As an entrepreneur, a small business person, I never think it's smart to tax business inputs. Why are we killing the golden goose that's creating good jobs for our children and grandchildren? That doesn't make good sense. And so I didn't like that. The bill morphed and changed a lot until this fall. It improved, by the way. I think it got better. But in the end, I still wasn't super excited about it. I wasn't excited about taxing food. I think that hurts the most poor among us. I don't think that fits within Utah's ethos. So let me tell you a couple things that we should do specifically, and then maybe high level how I'd think about it. One, we need to flow the dependent exemption through. That was something that the legislature took away from us. The Trump tax cuts gave us that. The legislature did not let that flow through, and that cost larger families hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's not even the state's money. Number two, like I said, I was not excited about the tax on food. Number three, we do not have a revenue problem in this state. We have surpluses. Us, you and I, all of us, have created the most robust economy in the country. We've been busting our butts. We've been working hard, and so there's no revenue problem in the state. My concern is spending. There is a spending problem, I'm afraid, in the state. We've grown the state budget over $3 billion, over 30% in the last 5 years. Has your income grown 30% in the last 5 years?
No,
yeah,
not quite.
Not very many people's have. But the state budget continues to grow, and then we say we have a tax issue. So one of the first things I would do if elected governor is do a top-to-bottom audit. Again, fresh perspective, fresh eyes. Do a top-to-bottom audit of spending and look for ways that we can be more spending. Two other principles that would guide me as a governor, and where I feel like the last tax reform fell down, is transparency. It was a little it wasn't totally transparent, the process. Even good-hearted legislatures did not have the bill in time to read it all before they had to vote. That's not a good way to tax. And the last is just simplicity. Prebate, rebate, there were all these, I'll call them gimmicks or plans within the new tax reform bill that made it work. People like simplistic. We don't want to pull more people into the bureaucracy of tax in Utah. We don't want to pull more people closer to government. Government slows things down. Government weighs things down. We need the people of Utah to be free. When they're free, we thrive as a state. The people of Utah are the secret sauce in our recipe of success here in the state of Utah. It's not the government. It's not the government officials. It's about the people. And so let's create a simple and transparent tax system for them. Any reform should follow those principles. And if I could say one last thing that is absolutely key, and I should have maybe led with this, we've got to make the biggest risk factor, in my opinion, in Utah is K through 12 education. So we need to ensure that we keep funding education. There is a mismatch between how and what our kids are learning and the jobs that actually exist in the information economy. We need to ensure that we're preparing them for those jobs. We need to innovate in education. We need to empower teachers. We need to ensure that parents like us have choice, because every child is unique. And so the point is, it's hard to talk without taxes without talking about funding education. We need to absolutely make sure that education is funded, in my opinion, and in the Burningham administration, it would be a K through 12 education, and education in general would be a top priority in what I would be looking at.
Is there anything else you'd like our 1,000+ membership to know about Jeff Burningham running for governor?
No, again, I think that I have a unique and singular resume in this race. There are 5 career politicians, people that have been entrenched in the political process here in Utah for a decade or more, and there's one unique outsider, Jeff Burningham. I come with a fresh perspective. I have a track record of success, and I don't even look at what I'm doing through a political lens running through governor. I'm not that political, so it's not political to me. To me, it's about leadership, problem solving, and service. So there are my 3 pillars as I'm running for governor: leadership, problem solving, and service.
Thank you for coming in today, Jeff, to the studio and speaking to our membership. We appreciate your time and best of luck.
Thanks. Good to see you, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Yep.
Thanks for watching our Questions for the Candidates series, brought to you by the Utah League of Cities and Towns. And as you weigh your decisions this election year, remember that the government closest to the people governs best.